Welcome to the Youth of the Mission News Show for December 2024. This month, we'll hear about the earthquake that hit Vanuatu, another story from YWAM Together Gathering. We'll hear about the National Evangelization Day that happens in Argentina, get an on-the-ground report from the Paris Olympic Outreach, hear what happened at Oceania Hui, get some year-end reports, and more. So thank you for downloading this, the 152nd episode of the Youth of the Mission News Show podcast. I'm your host, Bill Hutchison. You can contact us, subscribe to future episodes, leave comments, and find links to all the stories we talk about on the show notes to this podcast at ywampodcast.com/152. On December the 17th, Port Vila in Vanuatu was hit by a destructive earthquake. It affected some of the YWAM centers there, and we actually have a report that came to us from our V2 Life location. Now, as many of you have heard by now, yesterday, Port Vila was hit by a shallow, therefore massively destructive 7.4 or so earthquake. Landslides and collapsed buildings have claimed lives. Hundreds have been injured. Critical infrastructure like water, electricity, phone networks, and internet, but also roads and especially bridges, are completely down or at least strongly compromised. One of our staff families is currently overseas and fine. Our other staff family is well and staying on site. Our Australian volunteer family for the school is also safe, staying off-site. We have not been able to contact all of our local teachers yet. We have heard from most of our other YWAM staff that they are okay. We appreciate everyone's prayers for our YWAM community and for the people of Vanuatu. Pray for search and rescue to be guided to survivors still in the rubble. Pray for families that have lost loved ones or have loved ones injured at the hospital. Pray for the government, pray for the children especially, as many of them suffer from acute PTSD since yesterday, with ongoing aftershocks every hour since the initial violent tremor. As our center is outside of town, and the road to town leads over a bridge which has been damaged, we'll stay out here for now unless there's an emergency. We are fortunate enough to be set up to live off-grid, and therefore have clean water, although some parts are badly damaged, food, solar power, although some elements of the system have been badly damaged, and we have Starlink to connect to the internet. Our buildings seem to be structurally okay upon first inspection, but more detailed assessments will have to be done. There's a lot of interior damage and breakage and a huge mess to clean up in just about every single room of the center. As our community here in the valley have suffered with little obvious damage, it will take some time until we can identify ways that we can help those in need. Clean water might be one of those ways. In terms of costly damage, we can already tell that our solar battery bank will need to be replaced, as several positive and negative terminals connecting the individual cells have been torn out completely. There's also extensive damage to our water infrastructure, such as the tower, tanks, guttering pipes, which will need repairs and parts. In addition, there might be IT equipment and other office equipment that needs replacing. If you want to help us recover from this natural disaster, you can go to making a donation at v2life.org/donations. Choose V2 Life as the donation option. So you can also continue to follow the updates on the recovery from the earthquake on the Facebook page, which we will link to at ywampodcast.com/152. Now, as I mentioned in the last few episodes, there are many stories that came out of YWAM Together that happened earlier in 2024. I'll continue to share them on the YWAM News Show, so here is another one of these stories.
My name is Maureen Praise, and I was so privileged to be among the team that went to Manila. And one of the things that stood out for me in the Malachi gathering was about intercession and prayer. We were reminded that it's very key for us to be interceding and praying for the ministries that God has called us into. And they challenged us by asking, is our prayer base enough to hold the ministry God has given us? And personally, I realized that, I wasn't praying as much. So I was really challenged and encouraged to intercede more. And also they talked about the fact that once God gives us a ministry, focusing on God is more important than our ministry. But in most cases, we forget God who gave us the ministries, and we put a lot of emphasis on the ministry, not on God. So that was a very good reminder. When we went to Manila, I never prayed with my children, but it was also a good reminder that one of our values is families. We were challenged to always pray with our kids and ask, who should go this time? Is it mommy and daddy or the children? Which thing I realized I hadn't done. And also I was also shocked to see that other families brought their children and I hadn't even involved mine. So I was challenged to travel with my children, because how are they going to believe and love my God if they are not being involved in what we are doing? Hoping that next time there is an opportunity to go anywhere, go for ministry, that I should include my children so that they also learn to do what I am doing. It was really a good gathering. It was also like one party where I met different people I've met from different nations. So it was really nice to see all those people and catch up and celebrate what Christ is doing, and also seeing some people that are really old but they are still like serving their God. We were also encouraged about being generous with what God has given us, and I find that sometimes as missionaries it's not very easy, because every time you get money you have all these needs that, you know, sometimes you feel like your money is not enough. But then we are encouraged to be generous, because when we give then we have more. And so like that was also a challenge that I would also like to see at our best, that we are giving more to each other with what God has blessed us with. Darlene emphasized value of dependence on God, but she also like encouraged us not to give up on dependence on God, because God has called us. And for me personally, it was a huge encouragement, because as a mother, sometimes I'm asking myself, what am I even doing in YWAM? Because when times come and then maybe there is a need for my kids, and maybe the funds are not stretching, we are growing and the support is not coming in, then sometimes I'm thinking maybe I need plan B and plan C. But then being in Manila, I was really encouraged to depend on God and also like to focus on Him, because He's the one who has called us and is our provider. Hello everyone, my name is...
All right, sorry about the loop, but we will have more stories from that event, and that we'll be sharing with you on future episodes. Now, at the initiative of Youth with a Mission and with support of the Christian Alliance of Evangelical Churches of Argentina and the Argentinian Bible Society, now, among others, more than 400 cities across the country of Argentina united to bring the message of hope in Jesus Christ to the streets of Argentina. As part of the effort, over 4,000 strategically located prayer tables were organized, where the Word of God was shared and prayers were offered for citizens who are open to embrace the gesture of love and faith. Now, there is a full article that's written up about this, which you will find linked to at ywampodcast.com/152. Now, while we shared a bit about what happened at the outreach at the Paris Olympics, YWAM Kona has put together this on-the-ground video about doing missions at the Olympics.
Get arrested for sharing the gospel. We're not really sure what to do here.
All right, pause. We're getting ahead of ourselves. I'm about to travel all the way to Paris for the Olympics to share the gospel, and this is why. I've always wanted to go to the Olympics. With all the news coming out around Christianity being mocked at the Olympics and how people don't care anymore, I wanted to see, are people really indifferent to the gospel on the world's largest stage? And what I discovered took me to some pretty surprising places and to meet some pretty interesting people. But to start the journey, we first need to go to one of my new favorite places. Do you have any books around like the Olympics and like missionaries in the Olympics? This is Auntie Frances. She is the sweetest lady. She's from Korea, and she's helping us find this book. Is That Really You, God? By Lauren Cunningham. Back in 2 weeks. Auntie Frances, if you're watching this, I don't think that I'm gonna get this book in back on time. This book shares the history and the beginning of YWAM. And in this book is a story about missions and the Olympics in 1972.
Trying to change the world and make the world right, but it's only love that can do that, and the love of Jesus as I...
But Jesus Christ, we feel, has set forth in motion another kind of revolution. And this is a revolution of love.
Now, in this story, even before they got to the Olympics, they had a major problem. We knew that we would have closer to 1,000 people, and we still don't have any place to house that many workers. They had 1,000 young people coming into Munich, and they had nowhere to put them.
Seeking for a place to locate their printing plant for the Munich outreach, two young men spotted the completely renovated and modernized 16th century castle and called the YWAM leaders. Within 5 days after the signing of the contract, the down payment came in.
Now again, I could just tell you about this castle, and I found this cool documentary that lays out the whole story of Munich.
The tiny village of Herlack was deluged by more than 1,000 Jesus revolutionaries.
As cool as it is to watch this footage, so cool to be here. We actually first went to England to work on another project, so make sure you subscribe to see those. Guys, we're days away from flying to Germany, and we still don't have housing.
They were 2 weeks away from deporting here to go now.
Yeah, let's contact Munich right now, and hopefully they get back to us. I was calling them, I was texting them, no response, nothing. Until I had an email from Germany. Hey Lee, I'm sorry we passed your email. We'd love to have you. It's happening. I'm going. We got housing. Woo! Guten Morgen. Good morning from Germany. This right here is where they brought 1,000 missionaries during the Olympics in 1972.
This was built as a hunting castle, so you can imagine what hunting meant in the 16th century.
After adequately exploring, they told me about how they crammed 1,000 young people into this castle.
How do you put 1,000 people in this place? By doing 3 levels of bedding. So there is a lot of romanticism about this, but the people that lived at that time, they were saying, wow, we couldn't breathe.
These were the good old days of missions. These guys were awesome. Okay, so my question here is, how did it actually go? All week, kids came pouring in, 1,000 of them. From the very first day of the campaign, however, they met the worst kind of resistance: indifference. This is where our story takes a little bit more of a somber tone. You know, we're at right now in the Olympic Village, which is super cool. But what they were finding was that sports was being touted as the answer to unity and to peace. And people's hearts just weren't open. But then something unimaginable happened, and everything changed.
This is an ITN newsflash from the Olympic Village in Munich.
Gunman steps onto the balcony of 31 Connolly Street,
where early this morning, armed Palestinian guerrillas raided the sleeping quarters of the Israeli team.
So we're right here, actually, at the Olympic Village where the attack took place. And this is the memorial for the athletes that lost their lives. And although this is a tragic event and it caused a lot of pain, it also opened people's hearts up to the gospel for the first time since the missionaries had come to Munich. I wanted to hear what it was actually like. So I sat down with Joe Bertoli, and he was there with his wife in 1972.
Once the terrorist attack took place, there was a somberness that fell over the whole place.
While the memorial service for the murdered Israelis was taking place, the Christian young people quietly prayed on the streets. They sang, and they comforted the angry, confused public.
People would just kind of be milling around quietly, not doing a whole lot of crazy things like they had been doing. And it gave us the opportunity to be able to talk to people and encourage people.
Maybe people weren't as indifferent as they thought. See, in that moment, people needed something greater than just sports for answers about these tragedies and about hard things happening. Let's recap. Missionaries came, but people were indifferent. And then a terrible tragedy happened, and people's hearts were open. But that doesn't really answer my question about today. Do people care about the gospel in 2024? Well, there's only one way to find out. Paris now. Crazy. Hi, sorry. I forgot to mention this earlier, but we did get housing in Paris. Woo! Today we're going out to share the gospel as a part of Paris Je t'aime, which is an outreach that's happening all during the Olympics. This is our team, and leading our outreach today is my Australian friend Mel. She's been going out every single day during the Olympics to share Jesus with the visitors.
Bonjour. Parlez-vous anglais?
Yeah.
But I think there is like light and darkness. But Jesus, he says, I'm the light of the world. Okay. So if you're ever experiencing like darkness or anxiety or anything, like Jesus has broken that off of my life.
All right, that didn't go well.
Kind of rejected us, but it's fine.
We talked to a bunch of people, but none of them were like super responsive to hearing the gospel until we ran into this guy named Vincent.
The faith that I was when I was a kid hasn't really grown up.
Like, have you ever heard the gospel? Like
what?
The gospel, why he sent Jesus, right? So Jesus came to die for us in place of us. We talked for a good while, but right as I went to ask him if he wanted to give his life to Jesus.
When I'm praying, Bonjour.
This is a good time to mention that in France, it's kind of illegal to proselytize in like public places. It's kind of a gray area. I heard that there was a possibility that I might get arrested for sharing the gospel in Paris.
It could be. Normally, every year we've been able to get permits. This year, because of the Olympics, they wouldn't give out any permits. With that, there was the potential of them coming in, shutting it down, and arresting people.
Now, after we talked with them for a little bit, we found out that we just weren't allowed to be filming in the park we were at.
We were shooting, and the police took this guy to the police station because he was shooting at the same place we were shooting.
Yeah, they came up. So we got a little bit rejected, but I guess we'll try again tomorrow.
But we celebrate the rejection. Woo-hoo.
This is our last day here in Paris, and we're going to go out and do some evangelism. And today we're with Sid.
Treasure hunt, we're going to pray and we're going to ask God if he has words or like a picture of something. Kind of have that person or that thing in mind, and that's your treasure that you're looking for.
So we're praying out a couple of things with somebody reading.
Okay, wow, that's amazing.
And then the second thing we got was somebody maybe like injured of some kind.
And broken like ouch, bro. So I'm just going to pray simply that God would heal.
And then we wanted to see if we could find someone like playing some kind of game or something. So far, we weren't really getting anywhere with anyone, which was kind of discouraging because our time was quickly running out. That is until Sid told me that there was a large open air outreach later that night.
A bit after we start, I'll let you know if there's a spot for you.
How an open air like this works. First, we have performers who play music that will gather crowds, and then in between, you have people that go up and they share testimonies, they share the gospel. And that is what is supposed to happen, at least. Things were not going to a great start. Interesting development, Marcos. A bunch of police are right over there, and it looks like they're arresting the people that are just like hanging out there. And remember when I said this was kind of like a gray area that we're doing this? Well, this is like the grayest of the areas. Well, we're not really supposed to be doing this, or we're allowed to be doing this, but like they're kind of doing their own thing, so we're not really sure what to do here. But they arrested the people next to us and didn't seem to mind that we were doing our thing right next door. So now there's only one thing left to do. And that plan was to send his son. Et son plan c'était d'envoyer son fils to this earth to take the punishment for our sin, to give us a new life in him. The best part is he said that you are invited to this promise. We did it. We shared. How'd it go?
Really well.
Are people indifferent? Well, it's hard to tell from just this one isolated moment in the streets of Paris, but Paris Jetem saw over 260 people give their life to the Lord, as well as thousands of people that were prayed for and heard the gospel.
Fully accepting and knowing who he is.
Jesus would love you so much that he would pursue you and give his life for yours.
See Jesus, and she wanted to seek him. And we actually got a Bible in French.
It's actually about the life that Jesus brought from that.
We're going to talk about the gospel. Now, we didn't see the Jesus rallies like I saw in 1972, but I don't think that God is done just yet with the Olympics. There is one more thing that I have to do, though.
Alrighty, so you can check out more documentaries that YWAM Kona is putting out on their YouTube channel. I personally thought it was really neat to see what else was happening at Paris Jetem, which we were following during the time. So it's nice to see that documentary and sort of see what they were able to do and accomplish. Now, Christmas lunch at YWAM San Francisco, they served for over 200 people. So besides a great lunch, each person received a backpack with socks, scarf, gloves, rain poncho, and a Christmas card, and the teaching of Jesus. Also on Christmas Day, YWAM Tima shared over 100 Christmas meals and drinks on the streets in their city. They are thankful to bring the light of Jesus to their community. Also, with the Christmas theme, we have YWAM St. Mark. And this Christmas season, YWAM St. Mark in Haiti were able to bless the widows of their widows ministry with bags of food. Some of their staff went out to deliver the food and pray for and encourage these amazing women. They also had their annual Christmas meals, where thousands of people received a meal on Christmas Eve. Now, we told you a few weeks ago about Oceania Hui. Now, here is a report from the event.
What happens when Oceania comes together? YWAM missionaries from 40 different nations gathered in Tauranga, Aotearoa. We began in the place of encounter, pouring our hearts out to God with unique expressions of worship and the sounds of the Pacific. Through intercession, we cried out for revival. Filled with the fear of the Lord, we looked inwardly with the conviction of the Holy Spirit, the wisdom of our elders, and the zeal of our youth. We were realigned to God's vision for this region. We recognized the past with mourning and celebration, then looked to the future with hope for the next generations. In a powerful moment, the challenge went out to our Pacifica missionaries to come to the front, step forward, and take your leadership.
And I think as a room, we just say, we need you. We need you. Like, we actually want to be here. Like, we want to hear more.
God is calling missionaries from Indigenous Australia, Micronesia, Melanesia, and Polynesia to go. All throughout Oceania are called. From here, we looked to the nations, inspired by those who have gone before us, to commit to a new wave of pioneering in the nations. The keys of the 1040 window are in the Pacific, so our call to you is, Oceania, arise.
So if you want to find out more about what YWAM is doing in New Zealand and the area, you can head over to ywamfurnace.nz. Now, YWAM Lausanne has updated us with their 2024 wrap-up.
The compass is a symbol that reminds us all of our need for direction, whether that's navigating from point A to point B or navigating the bigger decisions in life. A compass will always point north so you can orientate yourself. The same is true for our lives. We need a true north by which we can orientate our decisions. At YWAM Lausanne in 2024, the Lord spoke to us saying that Jesus is our true north, and deepening that intimate relationship with Jesus is what will guide our lives. Whether that's the training we engage in, the ministry that we're a part of, all of that is meant to deepen our walk with God, as well as draw us into a more loving relationship with Him. Now, as we walk with God, we will bear fruit. Jesus told His disciples, those that remain in me and I in them, that's that loving relationship, will bear much fruit. What is the fruit that we've seen at YWAM Lausanne in 2024? Well, it's been incredible. Our community has doubled down on desiring to go deeper in our walk with God, picking up intentional practices so that we might be with Jesus in order to become like Him. Our training as we follow Jesus continued to expand, training hundreds of students through 30+ University of the Nations courses. These courses are to give people knowledge but also deepen their character in order to launch them into global missions. We've been able to see thousands hear the gospel one-to-one, and many give their lives to Jesus. The context of this was in dozens of outreaches across the world where our staff and students could pick up that great commission call from Jesus to preach the gospel. Whether that's in remote islands of the Pacific, seeing the sick healed, or refugees in the Middle East giving their lives to Jesus, or perhaps in the streets of Europe where people are able to encounter the living, loving God afresh. Our local ministries have also expanded. They've doubled in size. We've been able to offer Alpha courses, serve university students, start Bible studies in the city, serve refugees, create courses for the local body of Christ. Walking in that intimate relationship with Jesus, going deeper, has definitely produced fruit at YWAM Lausanne in 2024. We're currently walking towards our Kingdom Come event. This is an event we do several times a year where we get to invite the city to come and experience the presence of God and hear the gospel of God. The tables are set, my friends. Our students and staff are throughout the city inviting people to come in to fellowship with God like one of Jesus's most famous parables. The event like this is also a good symbol of our year. We've been called by God to go out throughout the world and invite people in so that God's house may be full, so that the loving relationship that we have with Jesus, others might experience as well.
In 2024, we ran 8 Bible courses, from 3-month seminars to 9 months Bible school. And this amazing gift, the Bible, was written for us, but not to us. And in our Bible course, we like to focus on who were the original hearers and readers of this word, and to understand their context. And so that we could really witness the transformation into our students' life, how they could discover God's consistency of His character from Genesis to Revelation, and a deeper really understanding of who He is also in their personal life, greater freedom. And from that, we also see amazing fruits from them taking the Bible on outreach, and also amazing fruits to want to continue to be transformed and transform others through the love of Christ.
The Bible courses have been amazing strengths in this year, and we saw such a hunger among the young people to learn God's Word and what it means for them, and to see how it is setting the stage for a fruitful life and ministry wherever they go. This year, 2024, has been a remarkably fruitful year, and our hearts are filled with thankfulness for the fruit that has coming forth from our variety of ministries, from all our discipleship and our life as a community, from our many different schools and outreaches all around the world, and also for our global services where we have engaged to serve our overall mission. We are deeply thankful for your involvement, for your prayers, for the way you have supported us and encouraged us on our journey. And we are thankful also to our Maker, the God of heaven and earth. And Christmas is a beautiful moment to celebrate God's goodness and faithfulness to us. We bless you and pray for you and your families, your communities, to experience that joy of the coming of Jesus as the King of all kings. We bless you with thankful hearts.
All right, so if you head on over to YWAMLausanne.com, you can find out more about the ministry, more about what God's doing, and all the different courses and opportunities that they have there. Now we have another update from YWAM St. Mark in Haiti. This is directly from them. We've had an incredibly busy week. We had our soccer tournament championship, which we won. We had buckets of joy, where over 200 kids got to take home food for their families. One of the pictures is 3 ladies holding up a bag of food and an envelope. We ask that our staff and security who stays to wait for their children to make sure that they get home safe after kids' church, and we were told that these 3 ladies wait every single week consistently. In our meetings with the parents, we always share that love and care and security starts in the home. We were able to bless them each with an extra bag of food and some money to help with Christmas. We encourage them to keep holding their kids close and making the sacrifices so that they know they are safe and cared for. It was such a blessing for us to see. We also had our Radical Youth Group graduation. We had 67 youth graduate, and we are so proud of them. Now, today, we have Christmas meals prepared for 3,500 plus people, and tonight we have a final championship soccer game before some much-needed rest. Merry Christmas, everyone. So you can find out more by heading over to their Facebook page, which will be linked to at ywampodcast.com/152. So now we have another update, this one from YWAM Ships, Aotearoa.
This year, YWAM Ships Aotearoa once again set out on its mission to bring hope, healing, and care to the islands of Fiji. The impact of what we achieve together will last a lifetime. We introduced Fiji to a medical breakthrough, varicose vein treatments never before performed in the country. Then, across 4 outreaches, we delivered 13,373 vital health services consisting of dental, medical, and optometry. For our team, the impact was just as powerful. One dentist shared how humbled they were by the sheer number of lives touched and the smiles restored. In one village, every single person who needed glasses received them. So to all who helped us this year by volunteering or donating or even praying for us, we want to say thank you for standing with us, for believing in this mission to serve the isolated. Because of you, lives were changed, and together we'll continue to bring healing and hope to those who need it most by empowering a healthy future in the Pacific. Thank you.
So yeah, if you head over to YWAM Ships, Aotearoa, which I'm probably saying wrong, aotearoa.org.nz, or again, ywampodcast.com/152, bit easier for me to say. You can find the link there, and you can find out more about the ministry, including how maybe you can get involved moving forward. Now, 2 of YWAM Flotilla's School of Navigation and Seamanship graduates, Matteo and Luke, sailed from French Polynesia with one of the yacht owners named Dale. They were at sea for 22 days before reaching Newport Beach, California. YWAM Flotilla is celebrating the success of their safe arrival. If you head on over to their Instagram page, which we'll link to, you can find out more about the YWAM Ships Flotilla and the work that they're doing, the way that they're able to integrate and work with other yacht owners, and also train people to help crew those vessels so that they can be used around the South Pacific. So again, you'll find the link to it at ywampodcast.com/152. Now here's another mini documentary from YWAM Kona, but this one is actually about a refugee from war in South Sudan.
I want you to try and imagine this. Imagine you start to hear rumors that a war is coming. Week after week, the rumors grow until you're staring at it right in the face. Leave the home you grew up in, leave your friends, your school, your nation. Where do you go? What do you do? This is the heartbreaking reality of the millions of refugees of war every year. And this is the story of Mambo, one refugee who found a new future, a new hope in Jesus.
Mambo, so what was it like to have a life and just in one moment be uprooted and thrown into a place where you have to just basically start life from scratch?
Wow, I think that is the most hardest part. You just feel abandoned, you feel alone, you feel confused, and you feel like that's the end of the world.
Mambo is a refugee from South Sudan who lives in northern Uganda with his family. And his story is an example of how to look at really broken places and see with God's eyes.
Right now we're in Arua, YWAM base. Yeah, we're going to Rhino Camp Refugee Settlement here in northern part of Uganda. So we're going to town to grab some food stuff that can be able to sustain us for the days that we're going to be in the refugee camp.
So in northern Uganda, there was a rebel group called the Lord's Resistance Army, headed up by Joseph Kony, who terrorized northern Uganda for decades. Really brutal stuff, very violent. Then in Sudan, there was the civil war between the north and the south for also decades, also quite brutal and violent. A lot of the southern Sudanese came as refugees into Uganda.
The country now has the largest number of internally displaced people globally and the third largest refugee crisis in the world.
Because the refugees, they don't know, do I ever get to go back home? What does it look like if I go back? You know, I know people who have fled the war 3 times. And they'll come out, they're refugees for a season, it looks peaceful, they'll go back. War will break out again, they'll come out again. And so there's this lingering question mark. When will I get to go back?
This is Arua Central Market.
Follow Mambo.
Okay, this is my home. This is the place I call home.
Check out
When the war broke out in 2016, I didn't prepare to be a refugee, but I found myself here. It was really hard in the sense that I lost my identity, I lost my country, I lost my dignity and value, because all you do is wake up in the morning, sit and do nothing. And it's really hard for young people like us because your mind thinks a lot and you want to do something but you're not able to do. So I've seen many people, like most of the young people, got into drugs. Some of them waste their life away.
Mambo hit a really low spot when his mom died. There was an altar call at the funeral, and Mambo chose to give his life to the Lord that day.
Okay, here I am.
Which led him to doing a discipleship training school where he really met the Lord.
Then I had to resign from my job. And I went to this Bible school, which I came late to find out later that is the DTS.
You know, one of our senior YWAM leaders had mobilized some of the youth in the camps, and Mambo was one of them. Wow. And really spoke into their lives for them to see that although they were refugees, that wasn't their identity. Yes. You know, that's their situation, but it's not their identity. And I think they really caught hold of that, and Mambo particularly caught hold of the fact that his life situation had changed, but he was a son of God. Wow. And God had a purpose for him and a plan for him.
But one thing that happened for me, it was during the trauma healing kind of week. And I came to realize God started opening up my heart. And then God started taking me back to the visions where I was a kid. I had a lot of dreams and I'm like, okay, I think there's still a hope. Yeah, this is my shop. Not mine, but our shop. So if you come in, yeah. The only thing that I know that can change and transform lives is the Word of God. God has given me this heart, like, okay, let me come back because I have a lot of young people who are hopeless in this town, in this camp. So I'm like, okay, God, if that's what you want to use me here, I want to come back.
And this is like a refugee camp, and there's a lot of hopelessness and there's a lot of hard situations going on here. But it's hard for me not to see through Mambo's eyes. Like, Mambo grew up here and left because he felt trapped. When God met him, he came back. And he's like, I wouldn't rather be in any other place. Like, his friends are here, his community is here, his family's here.
Mambo got around people that were already doing something and making an impact in the camp where they had practical ways in empowering the youth.
Okay, this is my friend Alfred. He has been really working with youth, skilling them.
YWAM Africa is a refugee youth-led organization that focuses on youth empowerment programs with the main emphasis on life skills development by training young people in life skills so that they can be able to generate for themselves income that support their families and raise money to take them back to school and again build hope in them.
One thing I felt like God is leading me is to start up a youth center for holistic discipleship where we can run different activities like trauma healing, skill development, and Bible study group. I'm looking at the new generation of South Sudan. So if these young people are got all these things from here, when they go back to South Sudan, will be a better nation, like a peaceful nation, a nation that fears God.
The reason we were so gripped with Mambo's story is because he is an example of how the gospel is not just a spiritual thing. It gives purpose, it transforms, it heals communities. It's not something that's supposed to be kept in the church building. It brings solutions to the most war-torn and hopeless communities in the world.
The revival comes when they encounter Jesus and they realize that no matter where they are, no matter what they've gone through, He has plans and purposes in that place, in that time. It's not in a future time of peace. It's right here, right now.
And South Sudan is a nation that is ready to serve God, to lead other nations to the kingdom of God. That's one thing that I believe, and that's one thing that God has always been telling me about. Like, my heart is to see that every South Sudanese, every young person in the refugee camp realize that as South Sudan, they've been called to bring transformation in the whole world.
So again, if you head on over to their YouTube channel, which will be linked to at ywampodcast.com/152, you can find out more, check out some more of their videos, and just see more of what they're reporting around the world about what God is doing and how He's using Youth with a Mission around the world. YWAM Kona is doing a great job at documenting some of that. Now, member care is an area that is very important for any and all YWAM locations as they look at how to best care for their staff and to help with long-term staff care, basically. There's 3 options right now that North America Member Care is currently putting on. The first is a Member Care Basics Seminar, which YWAM Nashville is putting on. This is from the 26th of January to 1st of January. It's a 1-week seminar covering the basics of member care. Another one is the Practical Intro to Member Care online course. This is running from the 4th of March to the 8th of May, 2025. It's online teaching with self-study weeks and a chance to apply it in your context. And finally, there's also Member Care Foundations course at YWAM Kona. This is from the 1st to the 21st of June, 2025. It's a 3-week in-depth course covering aspects of individual and corporate member care. So again, member care is just so important, especially if we look at the long-term viability of staff in Youth of the Mission and just meeting their needs. Now, if you go and check out their Facebook page, which again, ywampodcast.com/152, you can find out more information about the courses. You can find emails and other ways to contact them. Now we come to the end of the podcast, and so now we have the best meme of the month. Now this one's in honor of the Christmas movie Elf, and is the YWAMers Grumpy on Outreach meme.
Someone need a hug. I just wanted to...
All right, so that one is really something you should watch yourself. So ywampodcast.com/152, it'll be embedded. This was again by YWAM Memes. I'm putting out some good entertaining memes, some that do kind of hit home, I guess you could say. So again, that's ywampodcast.com/152. You can watch that at the end of it. So again, thank you so much for tuning in to this, the 152nd episode of the Youth with a Mission News Show podcast. You can subscribe, leave comments, send me your messages. Let me know how God is working in your ministry by heading over to ywampodcast.com/152. You will find that this month we did not stream. I actually tried streaming 3 times tonight. All 3 times either OBS crashed, my computer stuttered, or the internet failed on me. So we will see. Maybe next week we'll actually get this streaming thing working. Otherwise, we'll be uploading the recorded version. You can subscribe to it on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook. You can also subscribe to it in any podcast player that you use. Again, this is available in audio and video format. So thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to hearing how God is working in your life and telling you again next month what God is doing around the world. I have no end screen. So yeah.